Okay, just a quick recap. We already learned about 2.1 about lake ecosystem and tropical rainforest, which is terrestrial ecosystem. So going to the second subtopic under chapter 2, which is 2.2, energy flow through ecosystem. So let's have a look at the learning outcome. The first one, explain the energy transfer in ecological pyramids in relation to trophic levels. So actually, for learning outcome A, we will learn three types of ecological pyramid, but we want to focus more on the last ecological pyramid, which we call as a pyramid of energy. And then for 2.2, we will also learn how actually energy is transferred from producer to primary consumer, and then from primary consumer to secondary consumer to tertiary consumer, and so on. Okay, so producer will be in the first trophy level, okay, dia punya kategori. Okay, and then producer is eaten by the first or primary consumer. So primary consumer will sit in second trophy level. So producer mesti pada first trophic level, which is dia punya position, okay, dalam food chain. The second trophic level mestilah primary consumer, and then so on lah, okay. And then for the learning outcome B, calculate energy loss in each trophic level. So let's say primary consumer get energy from producer. So how many energy the primary consumer get from producer, and how much actually energy is lost from producer to primary consumer. So kita akan calculate dekat situ. Okay. And then for calculation of energy transfer, I would say kita akan belajar dia punya formula juga. Okay. Cuma kita fokus pada calculation of energy loss. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. So before we want to learn about the ecological pyramid and how actually energy is transferred in the third type of ecological pyramid, which is pyramid of energy, we need to learn a few terms, okay, which I know most of you familiar with these terms since your previous school. Okay, the first one, food chain. Food chain is the transfer of food energy from primary producer, usually plants or any other photosynthetic organism, through primary consumer, and then from primary consumer to carnivore, and then finally decomposer. Okay, so untuk food chain, it shows a linear feeding relationship. Means that dia satu baris sahaja. Okay, but for the food web is the interconnection of several food chains. Okay, so ada banyak food chain dalam satu food web. And then show interconnected feeding relationship in ecosystem. Dia saling berkait antara satu sama lain. And then untuk food web, for one specific organism, it can be in the first trophic level, but in another way it can be in second trophic level. Okay, itu food web. So satu organisma tu dia boleh menjadi pada second trophic level ataupun third trophic level, sebab dalam satu food web dia consists of many food chain. Okay, and then the third point under food web is more realistic than food chain because an organism can occupy more than one trophic levels. Okay, lebih tepat lah. Okay, going on, untuk food chain kita discuss sedikit. Untuk food chain we have two types. The first one is the grazing food chain. Okay, and then the second one actually kita ada detritus food chain. Okay, perbezaan dia bermula sama ada dengan producer ataupun dia bermula dengan detritus. Okay, so kita going up first for the first type of food chain. For the first food chain, we have grazing food chain. Untuk grazing food chain, we begin with producer at the first trophic level and then go to primary consumer until tertiary consumer. So energy for grazing food chain comes from the sun, and then for the grazing food chain, we divide into two types, which is predatory food chain and parasitic food chain. For the first type of grazing food chain, which is predatory food chain, this one is a usual or common food chain. The organism at each level become bigger. So, for example, grass is eaten by grasshopper, and then grasshopper is eaten by frog, frog is eaten by snake, and last one, snake is eaten by hawk or eagle. Okay. And then for the second type of grazing food chain, we have parasitic food chain, which the organism at each level becomes smaller. Okay, so last kali dia akan berakhir dengan parasite. So for example, grass is eaten by cows. Cows is infected with fleas. Fleas infected with parasite. Okay, contohnya protozoa. Okay. Ataupun another type under parasitic food chain, grass is eaten by goat. Goat is eaten by tiger, and last kali tiger decomposed by bacteria. Okay. Okay, let's move on to the second type of food chain. We have detritus food chain. If the grazing food chain start with producer, for detritus food chain, it must start with detritus. Okay, so detritus here refer to dead organic matter, which we call as a detritus, such as fallen leaf, okay, daun yang dah layu, or dead animal bodies. So detritus will be at the first trophic level, and then for the second trophic level and so on, it will fill by detritivore and predator. Okay, so energy for this food chain primarily comes from detritus. Tidak sama macam grazing food chain lah, which is energy primarily come from sunlight, and then producer will trap the sunlight to make photosynthesis and so on. Okay. Okay, untuk detritus food chain, example given here is mangrove leaf, which is as a detritus. So ni daun yang dah layu lah. Okay, so mangrove leaf is eaten by small fish. So small fish, because it eat detritus, debris ataupun waste ataupun dead organic matter, so we call the small fish as a detritivore. And then small fish is eaten by its predator, which is large fish, and then large fish is eaten by birds, which is another big predator. Okay, and the second example is leaf litter, which actually similar to the first example, leaf juga, and then is eaten by earthworm. Earthworm is eaten by bird, and then bird is eaten by bigger bird such as sparrow ataupun hawk. Okay, so that one is the second type of food chain. Okay, settle. Let's move on to the third terms, which is trophic level. So trophic level refer to the position of an organism in a food chain or food web. So position. So kalau producer tadi, usually dia pada first trophic level tu position dia. Okay, and then trophic level involve producers and consumers. So consumer can be primary consumer, secondary consumer, and so on. And then producer is the first trophic level, while consumer can be the second, third, fourth and fifth trophic level. Usually trophic level dia akan berakhir sampai fifth trophic level sahaja. It won't exceed 5 trophic level. Okay, later on kita akan discuss lebih kenapa trophic level cannot exceed more than 5 trophic level. And then the third point under trophic level, decomposer or detritivore are considered to occupy their own trophic level or no designated trophic level. So means that Let's say food chain tu dia bermula dengan, let's say, paddy plant is eaten by grasshopper. Grasshopper is eaten by frog. Frog is eaten by snake. Okay, snake is eaten by eagle. And then eagle is eaten by decomposer. Okay, let's say eagle tu mati, is eaten by decomposer. So, decomposer at the end is not count as a trophic level. Okay, walaupun dia ditulis dekat food chain tu lah. Sebab untuk decomposer actually they have their own trophic level. Ataupun dengan kata lain no designated trophic level. So dia tidak boleh dimasukkan sekali untuk the common food chain. Okay, so decomposer we doesn't count in as any trophic level. Okay, so please remind that. Okay, and then the fourth term that we need to know is ecological pyramid. So it is a graphical representation of the numbers of organism, the biomass or the relative energy amount at each trophic level. So ada 3 jenis ecological pyramid. Pertama, dia refer kepada number of organism. The second one, ecological pyramid, refer to biomass. And the third one refer to relative energy or differences of energy amount at each trophic level. So yang kita nak discuss more in our syllabus actually the third one. Okay, energy amount ataupun energy transfer. Okay, moving on. Yang ni yang saya cakap trophic level tadi. So, untuk trophic level, usually we start with producer at the first trophic level. Okay, first trophic level. And then producer is eaten by primary consumer, which usually herbivore, which sit in second trophic level. And then herbivore is eaten by carnivore, which usually secondary consumer. On the third trophic level, and the last one is the fourth trophic level, tertiary consumer. Okay, and then let's say from producer until tertiary consumer, all of them die. Okay, so bila mati, we will be decomposed by decomposer such as bacteria and fungi. So decomposer ni yang saya cakap tadi, it doesn't count as a trophy level. Okay, so jangan masukkan dia lah. So if the question give you like this, producer until tertiary consumer and then ada decomposer, and then if the question asks you how many trophic level present in the diagram, so you should consider or you should put 4 only. Okay, decomposer is not count in the trophic level. Okay, so kita masuk ecological pyramid. So definition dia kita dah sebut tadi. So we have 3 types of ecological pyramid. So kita ada pyramid of biomass. Usually we use the unit gram per meter squared, which based on the total dry mass of organism at each trophic level. So dry mass ni kita dah belajar dulu semester 1. Okay, which is usually mass without its water content, mass of organism without its water content. And then the second pyramid is pyramid of numbers, which refer on counting the total numbers of organism per area at each trophic level. Usually we doesn't focus more on the area, we just focus on the total number of organism at each trophic level. Okay, and the last one is pyramid of energy. Usually the unit that we use is kilojoule per meter squared per year. Okay, kita tak guna calorie. Okay, usually we use joule or kilojoule. Okay, which monitor the energy content of the organism at each trophic level. So berapa energy content yang ada pada producer, and then how much energy content for the primary consumer, and so on. Okay, we go first for the first ecological pyramid, which is pyramid of biomass. This pyramid show the total dry mass of organism at each trophic level, and then usually and most of the time pyramid of biomass in upright shape. Okay, but upright shape ni adalah untuk terrestrial ecosystem. Contohnya grass is eaten by grasshopper, grasshopper is eaten by snake, snake is eaten by hawk. Okay, but sometimes pyramid of biomass can be in inverted shape. Okay, so dia terbalik lah daripada yang usual punya. Okay, so this one is inverted. Okay, tapi inverted ni untuk aquatic ecosystem. Okay, kenapa autotroph ni lebih sedikit dia punya dry mass compared to the first consumer and so on? Jawapan dia sebab the first consumer, which is zooplankton, they rapidly eat the phytoplankton. Okay, menjadikan dia sedikit lah. Tapi at the same time, actually phytoplankton has rapid reproduction rate. Macam tu lah. Okay, so usually dia inverted. Okay, untuk pyramid of biomass, problem dengan pyramid biomass ni adalah untuk burung, for example, dia punya beaks ataupun any other organism, dia punya skeleton is a part of biomass but it is not eaten. So maksudnya we calculate or we count the beaks and skeleton as parts of the biomass, but actually in real life that part is not eaten by the organism. Okay, so tak berapa tepat lah pyramid biomass. Okay, okay, ini explanation untuk kenapa terrestrial punya ecosystem dia punya pyramid upright and why the aquatic ecosystem dia punya pyramid in inverted. Okay, okay. Okay, let's move on to the second ecological pyramid. We have pyramid of number. So a pyramid that show the number of organism per area at each trophic level. So producer must be at the first trophic level. Okay, paling bawah lah untuk pyramid. And then as the pyramid going up, ascended, the number of organism decreases but the size of organism increases usually. Okay, problem with this pyramid is that does not include biomass. Means that let's say pokok, katakanlah pokok kita kira satu, tapi dia ada huge biomass which kita tak count lah dalam pyramid of number. Itu antara problem dengan pyramid of number, which tidak berapa tepat juga. Okay, not really accurate representation. So pyramid nombor 1 biomass dengan number tidak berapa tepat lah. Okay, and then untuk pyramid of number we have 3 shape, upright, and then inverted, and then dumbbell, which is partly inverted, usually forest lah. Okay, okay, so untuk pyramid of number usually upright. So ini kalau for untuk grassland, so dia bentuk upright lah macam ni. Okay, the second one dia bentuk inverted, dia terbalik daripada upright. So sebenarnya parasitic ini, sebab bila number parasites lagi banyak lah kalau kita nak count. Okay, walaupun parasite tu small tapi dia punya numbers tu banyak. And then the third one adalah dumbbell. Okay, partly inverted. So actually dumbbell dia bentuk macam ni lah kan. Okay, selalunya begitulah dumbbell. Okay, partly inverted ataupun dia macam ni tapi dia macam ni juga. Macam tu lah. Okay, okay, the last pyramid adalah pyramid of energy. So pyramid ni yang I would say paling tepat. Okay, And then this pyramid show total energy content of all the organisms at each trophic level. So maksudnya setiap trophic level tu berapa energy yang dapat lah. Okay. And then show energy flow in one way direction. And then producer have the most energy disebabkan sebenarnya pyramid of energy ni dia mesti start dengan producer, okay. Dan kenapa producer have the most energy? Sebab producer dapat energy direct daripada sunlight, okay. So sebab tu producer banyak energy. Tapi untuk last consumer have the least energy, okay. Sebab let's say producer dapat daripada sunlight, which producer will have the most energy, and then producer is eaten by primary consumer. So primary consumer akan dapat energy daripada producer, tapi dia akan dapat sikit sahaja sebab most of energy dia akan lost as a heat to the environment ataupun to the surrounding. And then most of energy actually lost through excretion, transpiration, respiration, reproduction and so on. Okay, that's why bila energy tu ditransfer daripada one trophic level to another trophic level, it become lesser. Okay. And then pyramid of energy, usually we use kilojoule, unit dia kilojoule per meter squared per year. And then levels above have decreasing amount of energy ataupun less energy is transferred to the next trophic level. Okay, contohnya macam ni lah. Katakanlah producer dah dapat daripada sunlight, so producer dapat 10,000 joule, okay. And then primary consumer here is grasshopper, so grasshopper will eat the producer, but grasshopper only get 1,000 joule, which is only 10% from initial energy, okay, daripada producer. So producer 10,000, primary consumer only get 1,000 from 10,000, which the percentage is 10%. Okay, mana lagi 90% of the energy? So actually 90% of the energy, which is 9,000 joule, actually is lost as a heat to the environment, and then is lost through excretion, respiration, transcription, reproduction and so on. And then from primary consumer going to secondary consumer, energy become lesser, which the small bird only get 100 joule from total 1,000 joule. So once again in theory actually dia dapat 10%. So mana lagi 90%? Lost as a heat to the surrounding ataupun through the process yang saya dah sebut lah, excretion and so on. And last kali tertiary consumer, which is dalam case ni eagle ataupun hawk, will eat the small birds. It only get 10 joule, okay, which is 10 out of 100 joule, which is in theory 10%. So lagi 90% is lost as a heat to the environment. Okay. So dengan kata lain, semakin meningkat trophic level tersebut, semakin ke atas, energy become lesser. Okay, for comparison the pyramid of biomass, number and energy, I would like to ask you to read on your own from the notes that I give beforehand. Okay, that's all. Thank you.